Hello everybody, welcome back to Firefield Junction and welcome to another review for you today. I cannot believe that it's already the end of 2022. It's already here, I can't believe where it's gone. It feels like the year only started yesterday, but wow, the year has already gone by. Can't believe where it's gone. It's really insane. I think it's insane how fast this year has gone. I don't know how fast it's gone by for you, but certainly for me, this year it does feel like it's flown by. Can't believe where the time's gone, but we're already at the end of the year, and I thought we'd finish it off with a good old review as usual. Might as well carry on with the good old stuff, and we've got another loco in front of us today to enjoy before the year ends. Or maybe not enjoy as much as probably some of the other locos that we've looked at, but hopefully it will still make a good video nonetheless, and hopefully you'll enjoy it. And now today's loco, as we can see, it is a Class 37. But it's a Hornby Railroad one that we got today. It's not one of the Batman ones. We have got a Hornby Railroad Class 37 today with TTS sound. Now, obviously, the Hornby Class 37, it's not the best 37 out there. I'm sure you'll agree, and as I'm sure you're already familiar with. These models are not the best in the world. They are very basic. Obviously, these are the ex-Lima tooling models, these particular ones. They're not brand new tooling. These are very old models. They are very outdated now, and the price that Hornby are charging for these is certainly unreasonable. Let's say we won't say any more than that. We'll be kind. We'll say it's unreasonable, nonetheless. But yeah, the latest version that Hornby are doing of their Class 37s. I think the latest one they've done is the Colas Railfreight version, which is also a TTS sound model. But the RRP for that particular model, I believe it's £120, 120.99, I think it is. And obviously, for a model that's around 30 years old, for that sort of price, well, it's just having a laugh, really, isn't it? It's not very good. Obviously, I know, obviously, it's probably not as bad as probably some other models out there, but still, £120 for a old tooling, very basic model. Well, I mean, come on, Hornby, that's just ridiculous. And I know it's a TTS sound model, so obviously some of the value there is towards the sound chip itself. However, the Hornby TTS decoders, they're only worth about £40 to £50 in my mind. I wouldn't say you want to pay any more than 50, really. That's the maximum I'd say you want to go to. But even if you'd say, let's say the chip is worth about £45. That's still around, well, that's still 75 or so that you're paying for the model, and that's still, it's not too bad, I suppose, but it's still an awful lot of money, I'd say, considering how basic these models are and how cheap they are to produce. I think you don't really want to pay anyone sort of £60, maybe £65. I'd say at the absolute maximum for these. That the price that Hornby are asking is just ridiculous. That's obviously not what I paid for this. This is an old version of the TTS Class 37. I don't think it's the first version they did. I can't remember what the first version Hornby did. I think it was one of the Network Rail Class 37s. I'm pretty sure that was the first TTS Sound 37 that Hornby did. Then I think this might have been the second one that they did, maybe, because I don't think there's that many TTS Sound 37s out there. I suppose there's not a massive amount of TTS sound diesels in general from Hornby, but I'm pretty sure this is probably the second version, if you like, of the TTS sound Class 37 that Hornby did, and it's in the rail freight metal sector. This particular one, it's the rail freight triple grey with the metal sector logo, I believe that one is, and it's a 37/0, so it's the subclass 0. And we can see there, if we look into the box, it's the split head code version with the high intensity headlights. Obviously, there are quite a lot of different 37s out that you can get. Obviously, you can get split head code like this with the high intensity headlights. You can get split head code with no headlights. You can get the split head code with the high intensity headlights, sort of on the same level but slightly to one side. Obviously, there's domino head code with the high intensity headlight, which is the 37-4. Y-pack headlights, loads and loads of different subclass of 37s out there. So plenty of different ones available if you have a particular one that you're after. Obviously Hornby aren't the only ones that do them. Obviously, I know you're already going to know that, but obviously if you want a better 37, compared to this. Obviously, you've got the likes of Batman do theirs with a few different versions. Akira Scales one shouldn't be too far away, hopefully, so we should have that soon. Obviously, V-Trains or Vi-Trains, however you want to say it, they've done one which isn't too bad. Obviously, you have got the standard original Lima version that you can get if you want to, which I'd say is probably in some areas better than this. Weight definitely being one of them, because these Hornby diesels in general, they weigh nothing. They are so light. There's no weight to them whatsoever. The original Lima versions of these models, not just the 37, but maybe models like the 47, the 50, etc, etc. A lot of those models, they weigh way more than this. The new Hornby versions are criminally light. There is no weight to them. They are rubbish in terms of weight, nothing at all. I think I've got wagons that weigh more than these locos. It's just ridiculous. But anyway, with that out of the way, obviously it is TTS sound, so it should have some value there at least. I paid around, I think it was just under £90 I managed to get this one for, which isn't too bad. A very good deal in my opinion. That's what I'd say. If the chip is probably worth about half of that, so that's around £45 left for the loco, which overall I don't think is too bad. But if we look at the end of the box, we can see the model code for this one is R3583TTS. It's a class 37, it's a rail freight, is what it says. This one is number 40. I don't know if this particular 37 still exists. I don't think it does anymore. I'm fairly certain that this particular one has probably been scrapped by now. But if it does still exist, if 37040 does still exist, then let me know down below. But I'm fairly certain that this particular one does not exist anymore. TTS sound, so it's got a decoder fitted. Obviously TTS sound, so it's a basic sound decoder, very basic sound decoder. But it's not too bad. The Hornby TTS sound chips, they are good. Performance, I can find can be a bit hit and miss, depending what batch the decoder is from. Sometimes you can get a loco that runs really well. Other times it can act more like a typical Hornby decoder where it's quite jerky at low speeds. But if you are lucky, and I certainly can speak from experience, some of these decoders, the performance, it can be really good, really smooth performance. Overall, really good. It's in some cases better than some other decoders, which takes some doing sometimes. But anyway, enough rambling on. Let's open her out the box and let's have a look at her. So it's the typical Hornby sort of railroad style packaging. So it's not very good. It's just a typical polystyrene tray. But I think there's worse packaging out there, I suppose. But anyway, if we have a look at the instructions very quickly. So the instructions for the Hornby Class 37. This is the first Hornby Class 37 I've ever had, actually. I have got one of the Lima ones, but this is one of the first Hornby ones. Obviously, it's not massively different to the Lima version. Obviously, it has been upgraded in some extent. Obviously, it's got an 8-pin socket inside there. The motor's better. It's got more pickups. Maybe slightly better moulding, I suppose, but I could be wrong there. But anyway, this is the instructions for this particular model. So we've got the general stuff, routine maintenance, DCC ready. Obviously, this one's a TTS sound model, so we don't need to worry about fitting a decoder. Lubrication, you only need tiny amounts of oil. You really do not need much oil with 00 models. Remember, this is 1/76 scale, so a tiny little drop is a massive amount of oil, in fact, for these. Body removal is just a few clips, but they can be quite hard to overcome these clips. So I'd recommend maybe using a bit of plasticard or a little tool if you've got one, just to help disengage those clips, to help get the body off. No, don't need to take the buffers out or anything. Literally just, as you can see, 3 clips on either side and the body comes off. You can see the location there of the socket if you want to fit a decoder. But again, obviously we don't need to because this one's already got one fitted. And then on the back, yeah, it's the typical usual TV suppression stuff there. And next thing, we can see we've got the instructions here for the unrefurbished Class 37 TTS sound decoder. So if we just have a look inside, so we can see there, we've got the list of all of the different functions there. And I'll go through those later. I might not do all of them, but I'll certainly go through some of them just so you can hear what they're like. Although I'm sure you're probably familiar with the TTS decoder, well, with this particular one already. But I will obviously go through it a bit and show you some of it in case you're not familiar with it. And then obviously more inside there, there's more about changing CVs and all the different stuff like that. But anyway, we can ignore that for now, and we can have a look at the loco. So if we just lift off this flap, and now we need to grab the loco. It's going to be a bit interesting. There should be some things in the holes in the back. Yeah, there we go. So hole in the back, push it out with the finger. There we are. And then we can grab the loco. And then if we get rid of the packaging, because we're not interested in that anymore. There we are. And then we can grab the loco itself. And here we are. So as you can see looking at it, it is a very basic model. There is not much to it at all. There's very little detail on this loco, but again, it is an ex-Lima tooling, so we know it's going to be fairly cheap and not very good. And one thing to point out is that this particular one that I got, the previous owner has already added some extra weight to the model. I took the body off when I first got it, just to check that everything was okay. And the previous owner has put a couple of large weights into the top of the body shell here, just to help bring up the weight of the model. So it is this model is a bit heavier than what you'd probably expect if you got one. But still, even with the extra weight, there's still not much to it at all. It really is mad how light Hornby have made this loco. Even though this model does have traction tyres, as you can see, there's one there and one there. Even with those traction tyres, the pulling power is still going to be pretty garbagey, to be honest. It's still not going to be very good. You're really not going to be hauling massive long freight trains with this. I really don't know what to say about it. It's not very good, to be honest. But saying that, despite how rubbish the weight is and how low quality the detail is, overall it's not too bad. But it's been put together very well. These railroad models, they are very robust. They're put together well. They're certainly not going to go break on you very easily, because there's nothing really to break off, apart from maybe the buffers or the couplings or whatever. There's no major detail for you to break off, which is good. And obviously that is by design, because it is a railroad model, so we know it's not going to be that good in terms of detail. But it's definitely robust. It's definitely very well built, which is good. You have got NEM couplings on these, which is quite nice. That is a NEM pocket. I know it doesn't look like it, but I promise this model does have NEM couplings. There's all pickups on the dummy bogie. All wheels have pickups on them. This model probably will need a service before I give it a good run later on. She has only been tested very briefly on my small test layout that I have. Just made sure that she went back and forth fine, and she did. But I'm sure she does need a bit of a clean and service, so I'll do that before we run her later and give her a good proper test. Obviously, if she was brand new, then I wouldn't be doing that, but because she is second hand, and because this model is probably getting on a little bit now, it's probably got a good few years under its belt now. I don't know how much it's been used by the previous owner, but it is a fairly old model now, so she will receive a little bit of TLC before we give her a good run later. But despite how old she is, and I don't know how much she was used and how well she was cared for by the previous owner, overall she's not too bad, is she? She's in very good condition. She almost looks brand new, pretty much. There's no marks anywhere. A bit of polystyrene there. Everything's in one piece. There's no scratches. There's no dents. Nothing's broken. Overall, it's not too bad. Obviously, the mechanism inside this model is very basic. There's just a standard, I believe it's just a 3-pole motor inside the motor bogie there, and it drives just these 2 axles. That's it. There's no large motor in the centre with all-wheel drive. It's literally just that wheel, that axle, and that axle that are driven by the motor. That is it. All of the wheels do have pickups on them though, which is very good. All wheels do pick up, so you should have some nice reliability with this loco. Apart from that though, there's nothing else majorly good. There's no lights at all, but you could fit some if you wanted to, and I will certainly be doing that in the future. I will be drilling holes, I will be fitting lights, I'll be weathering her, I'll be changing the speaker inside for something better. I will be making her better, but as she is, she's okay, I suppose. She's not terrible in any way, apart from the weight certainly. But apart from that, she does the job. She looks like a class 37. These models do run fairly well if they're looked after, and providing the decoder inside is a good one. Overall, there's nothing terrible about it. The quality, it's okay. Obviously there's no fans or proper grills on the roof there, and there's no major detail anywhere. The handrails are just moulded, I believe, to the actual loco, and they look pretty good actually. They look like they're separately fitted, even though they're not, but overall they do look pretty good. The grills are just moulded to the side, and you can't really see through them. There's nothing really there, but the paintwork is good. I will admit that. The decoration is top notch. There's nothing wrong with it. It's been applied really well. There's no paint bleed. All of the decoration has been done very, very well. So that's one thing that this logo has got going for it. But the buffers aren't sprung. They're just giant plastic moulded pieces, which isn't that good. There's no driver inside any of the cabs. It's just bare inside. There's not really any detail at all inside the cabs actually. You can't really see inside the cabs very well either. But there is nothing really inside there, to be honest. There's really nothing inside. Apart from the motor and the chip and the speaker and a bit of wiring, there's nothing inside at all. It's really, really bare bones. But overall, despite how lightweight the model is and how little detail there is, overall she's not too bad. She's been built very well. She's been decorated very well. Overall, she's okay. And obviously, she is a railroad loco, so it's to be expected. Obviously, if this was listed and sold as a high quality main range model, then obviously I would be having a go at it a bit more. But overall, it's not too bad. These Hornby railroad locos, they're okay. They're not too bad. They do the job. And obviously, if you can't afford the high quality main range models, then obviously you will be hopefully fairly well satisfied with these models, because they're not too bad. But the next thing we need to do is push her on the track. We'll test the sound and we'll see how she runs. I will give her a service first, but after that we can get her on the track and we can see how she performs. Okay, so here we are back on the outer loop once again. So if we just put the loco onto the track, it's quite a lot of wheels to get on, but it should be fairly simple. Just make sure they're all on, and they are. There we go. So she's all ready to go. She's had a quick service. I've given all of the wheels a clean and given the mechanism a little bit of oil to make sure it's all fine. And she's also had a little run around the layout for a few minutes in each direction, just to make sure she's okay, and also just to get the oil bed around all the gears and everything. And overall, she's performing very well. Very, very smooth, very nice and quiet as well. Overall, really, really good, especially for a TTS decoder, and being a Hornby decoder as well, as a matter of fact. Overall, the performance is really, really good, especially considering how basic the mechanism inside this loco is. The performance is really, really good. It's in some cases better than some of my more premium models with better decoders, but overall not too bad. Obviously she is sound fitted, so we need to get the sounds going. If I just grab the sound instructions, we can listen to a few of the sounds. So here we go, instructions at the ready. So I won't do all of them because there are a lot of sounds on these TTS decoders, so I'll just do a few of them. If I do a couple of the horns for you, they're not too bad. And if we do some of the other sounds, let's try the door slam. Short and sweet and does the job, I suppose. 12 is the fan. Yeah, it's not too bad, so quite loud. If we do a couple more horns, so we've got the horn long high and the horn long low, that's functions 13 and 14. That's not too bad. If we do a few more, we'll skip a few again, go a little bit higher up. Let's try the Spirex valve on function 17. Yeah, that's not too bad. And if we do one more sound, let's try the wagons clanging on function 21. Yeah, overall not too bad. So hopefully that gives you a rough idea of what this decoder is like. Obviously it is a TTS decoder, so it is a fairly basic decoder. The speakers inside these TTS models, they are pretty rubbish. They're not very good. So I would recommend, if you can, if you have the skills, it doesn't take much skill, to be honest. It's literally just unsolder the old speaker, solder on the new one, providing it's an 8 ohm speaker or two 4 ohm speakers in series, because that's what's required with these TTS decoders. If you use a 4 ohm speaker with the TTS decoder, you'll either damage the decoder or the speaker or both, and obviously you really don't want to do that. So make sure you definitely use the right speaker or speakers if you're going to use more than one. And once you change the speaker for something better, it really does bring out some better performance from these TTS decoders. With the standard speakers, you're really not getting the full value from them. Just by spending a few extra pounds, getting a better speaker, you really do get some better performance, and you really do get some more value from these decoders. As they're okay, but and they do the job. For some people, they'll be fine, but for a lot of people, you'll want to change the speaker for something better. But as she is, she's okay. Anyway, let's fire up the engine. And let's get her running. Let's hope that she went the right way. And yeah, overall, she's running very well. For a Hornby Railroad loco, the performance is second to none really. It's really smooth, the mechanism is silent. Overall, you can't really ask for much better, to be honest. Really good. It did actually surprise me, to be honest, a little bit how well this loco actually runs. Usually with these Hornby Railroad locos and the TTS decoders, I do expect maybe a little bit of noise, maybe the loco might be a bit juddery. But overall from this one, it really is amazing. Really outstanding performance. But yeah, overall, she's great. If you want one of these models, I recommend you get one if you want one. They really are good. They're really nice. So they are basic. There's not really much to look at apart from the livery and a few odd details. But as she is, she's okay. She's not bad at all. And now let's have some ratings for the Hornby Railfreight Metal Sector Class 37 with TTS sound. So first of all, the detail. Unfortunately, the detail is the lowest scoring category on this list, which, as I'm sure you can appreciate, with the railroad model, that is quite likely to be the case. So I've given it 5 out of 10. It's probably a little bit harsh, to be honest. But overall, this is probably one of the most basic railroad models that I've seen. The detail there's really not much of it, to be honest. Apart from the odd bit of detail probably on the underframe and the various mouldy details on the roof and obviously the buffers, overall there really isn't much detail going on with this loco, which is obviously by design. That is how the railroad models are supposed to be. But I have seen other railroad models or railroad quality models from Hornby that do have slightly better detail than this. But apart from that, the decoration is really good. It's probably one of the best things about the detail, if not the best thing. The decoration is top notch, it has to be said. It's really good. It's all nice and crisply applied. Overall, it's not too bad, but in terms of overall detail, it's not very good, to be honest. But again, being a railroad loco, that is to be expected. The performance, however, is steps and leaps and bounds higher. It's really good. Probably one of the best performing, if not the best performing railroad model I've seen to date so far. Overall, it's fantastic. It's really smooth, it's quiet. I really cannot fault it. I'd say probably the only slight downside is the slight jerkiness at the start when the loco moves off, which, being a Hornby TTS decoder, is to be expected, because Hornby decoders overall, they're not that good. However, in terms of the TTS decoders, you can get some really good ones, and this is definitely one of them. Overall, the performance is fantastic. I really can't fault it overall. The quality overall, it's okay, it's not too bad. I'd say the worst thing is the weight. The loco is criminally light, there's no weight to it whatsoever. Also having traction tyres, that's not really a quality feature, you don't really want to see that. And also just the lack of detail overall just brings the quality down slightly. But overall it's not too bad. The loco is well built. You've got NEM couplings, which you definitely see on quality loco. It's nice to see that. So if you want to change the coupling for something else because you don't like your tension locks, then you can very easily do that. So that's a nice quality feature. But overall, the quality it's okay. It's not the best, but we have seen better. But overall, it's okay. Then the value for money, overall, I really can't fault the value for money. I paid just under £90 for this loco, and considering it's also TTS sound fitted, I really cannot fault that. So overall, the value for money is really, really good. It would be nice if it would have been slightly cheaper, but overall, I cannot fault it. The value for money, really, really good. So that's an overall score of 7.5 out of 10. Overall, a fairly decent score. Obviously, being a railroad model, it's probably not going to be that good. But overall, I'd say, considering all things considered, it's not a bad loco at all. It's not the best, but overall, I can't really fault it.